Is the law of assumption ruining your life? And what I mean by this is, do you find yourself facing a lot of resistance? Have you been at this for a while? Has it been months, years, and there's still no movement? Is this process getting harder for you? Are you thinking longingly of your desire? Does your desire seem impossible to attain, or separate from you, or far away? Are you desperate to have your desire? Is your 3D triggering you? Are you constantly doing technique after technique and not seeing movement? Are you receiving glimpses of your desire but not the full manifestation? Are you watching manifestation video after manifestation video, trying to find the answer to get what you need? If you answered yes to any of these, then you most likely haven't completely understood how conscious manifestation works. And that's probably because you've been bamboozled by people who claim to teach the law of assumption. And they got me too. Okay, I too was bamboozled. I've been a part of this community for a while now and see how much misinformation there is. And it's sad because it's a situation where the blind are leading the blind, but in reality no one actually has a clue. So this is my first video on this channel. My name is Tia, by the way, hence the channel name. I am Tia, and I'm just some random person on the internet, okay? I found conscious manifestation and I've been at it for a while. But this year I've seen a lot of consistent movement because, well, I stopped listening to all of the garbage that's out there and actually listened to Neville. So the first reason I'm making this video is, well, because I have a lot to say about manifesting, and I'd at least like to help someone out there understand how we actually manifest. And this information is free. It's easy to find. You can read Neville's works online, or you can get the reader off of Amazon. And the second reason is I just think it's time to fight back against these clowns that call themselves manifestation coaches. I'm very critical of how law of assumption is being taught online, because a lot of the content that you see is not really law of assumption, and it's doing more harm than good to people, especially in terms of mental health. Okay, so let's get into it. So a lot of us find manifestation because we're in a desperate place and we want something really badly. We're frantically searching for the solution, and like I said, there are a lot of unqualified people claiming to teach law of assumption, and they make clickbait type videos to try to sell you manifestation like it's magic. Like, get a text in 2 minutes, or make your SP do this and that. Those types of videos speak to our desperation. And please hear me when I say this, okay? We cannot manifest what we desire from a desperate place. Anyone that tells you otherwise has not understood conscious manifestation. You can't manifest something you're desperate for, because when you're desperate for something, you're aware of being desperate. So if a coach is ignoring your current state or doesn't even make mention of it, and they just tell you to jump into a technique, and they're telling you to just persist through your resistance, that's already a red flag. Before you even begin to consciously manifest the big things, especially the things that seem impossible, you have to ask yourself, what is my current state of being? Who am I aware of being in relation to my desire? This is a crucial, fundamental step. Do not skip it. For a lot of us, the persist no matter what approach is absolutely terrible for our mental health, because persisting can lead to obsession and other unhealthy feelings. And you're probably persisting because you've been taught that if you just say it enough times, your brain will believe it, and then you'll get your manifestation. They'll tell you to just affirm this many times every day for this many days and SP will be back, right? They tell you things like persist, 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 you're not persisting enough. And in reality, you've been affirming all day long. And instead of this getting any easier, it's getting harder. And believe me, that is not what's supposed to happen. If people just understood the basics of conscious manifestation, then most of us in this community would already have what we want actualized in the 3D. If you just understand this one thing, that you manifest what you're aware of, then you'll already be ahead of the crowd. So I was introduced to the law of assumption back in October of 2021. I was like, cool. All I have to do is affirm as if I already have my desire and I'll get it. It seemed simple. So I started affirming like that, and I'm not gonna lie, like, I had immediate results. Like, I'm talking the next day, and I kept testing the law, and I kept seeing results. I'd affirm, SP can't take his eyes off of me, and the next day, when I went to work, he literally could not take his eyes off of me. I affirmed, money is always coming to me, money loves me, and the next day at work, I was given a bonus. I affirmed I'd get flowers, and when I arrived at work the next day, I had sunflowers waiting for me on my desk. I affirmed that a certain person would text me, and I definitely received those messages. Anyways, those are just a few things that I consciously manifested really quickly when I first learned about the law. So I know that it's real, and I know how fast things can appear in the 3D. But unfortunately, when it came to the bigger things, like wanting to be in a happy and loving, committed relationship, I really struggled, and I felt like I was fighting with myself every single day, but I didn't know what it was that I was fighting exactly. I'd affirm SP and I are in a happy commitment and that he loves me and only has eyes and desire for me. But in the 3D, he wasn't showing up like that. Like, I knew the law worked, so why was it not working here? I didn't know it then, but the law of assumption is an inward process. We're taught to do affirmations and techniques to change the outside world, but that's doing this process completely backwards. You're meant to change yourself, and then the 3D reflects that change. One of my favorite Neville quotes is, change your conception of yourself and you will automatically change the world in which you live. Do not try to change people. They are only messengers telling you who you are. Revalue yourself and they will confirm the change. I know coaches constantly tell us that we can change people. And yes, people will change during this process, but they're not changing because we're making them change. No, they can only change when we change. This whole process is about you. You don't affirm to make them change. You affirm to change yourself, or whatever technique you like. If you don't like affirming, you can visualize or try some sort of auditory technique. I don't care. But the point is to change yourself. So are you trying to change SP thinking that they are the problem? And I don't mean any of this in a condescending way. And yes, SP might have shown up problematically, but as Neville said, they are only messengers telling you who you are. SP showing up problematically is only telling you who you are. People can only reflect back to us who we are aware of being. That's it. That is the law. You have to change the conception of yourself, or simply put, your self-concept. Unfortunately, these coaches are addressing self-concept as not being part of the manifestation process, when in reality, self-concept is all that manifests. Self-concept is not self-love, it's not self-care, or anything along those lines. What you need to understand is that everything, literally everything, manifests from the self-concept. So what is self-concept exactly? It's in the name. It's the concept of yourself, the idea of who you are. It is the idea of yourself. It's what you're aware of being. And here's the best part. If we haven't done any sort of self-reflection in the past, then we're usually not aware of our actual self-concept. Our subconscious mind is the one that's running the show, and it does an incredible job of hiding that information from us. Our subconscious mind's job is to keep us safe. And what is safe to us is what we know. What is safe to us is what we've experienced from an early age. What is safe to us is what is familiar. So your subconscious keeps you safe by maintaining that status quo. Do you find yourself repeating certain patterns in your life over and over again? It doesn't matter if those patterns are positive or negative. You repeat them because of your self-concept, your idea of yourself. This is why when you attempt to consciously manifest, you start to feel that resistance and you probably don't know why. Our subconscious goes, nope, this is different from what we're used to. therefore it must be dangerous. This is scary, shut it down right now. And if you do not become aware of those hidden beliefs and actually change those scripts, you are going to keep manifesting the same experiences over and over again. Thus, the pattern continues. So, what you have to understand is that the world reflects what our assumptions actually are. If you think you're worthy of being in a loving, committed relationship, but your 3D is showing you the opposite, you can infer that subconsciously you do not hold that assumption. Again, our subconscious mind's job is to protect us. It does that by hiding our innermost beliefs. Why are those beliefs hidden? Because these are usually painful, unpleasant memories of past experiences, usually from our formative years. And unfortunately, if we didn't grow up in a healthy environment, then the subconscious mind's protective mechanism is most likely interfering with our adult life. You know, it's easy to manifest flowers and coffee and small things because we don't have deep counterproductive beliefs or assumptions about flowers and coffee. And a big part of the work is identifying what those core beliefs are and then applying techniques to change us. Not to change the outside world, but us. That should be your approach to this. You're not saying to yourself, this area of my life sucks, I have to change it. No. What you should be saying is, this area of my life sucks. What about me is this area of my life reflecting? How can I change me so I experience this area the way I want to? Let's take this example to really understand how deep this can go, depending on the person. So let's say Anna is an adult woman, and this goes for anyone really, regardless of gender. But as a child, Anna was hurt by her father. Let's say he hurt her emotionally by never being there, by dismissing her needs and lying to her, and he never kept his word. So as a child, Anna's mind has no option but to internalize this as, people hurt me, my dad hurts me, my dad is a man, therefore men hurt me, or men lie to me, or men don't meet my needs, or my needs are not important and people hurt me. As a kid, she did not have the capability to reason and say no to those narratives. And unfortunately, as she grew up, she carried this subconscious assumption around that men or people will hurt her. And because the 3D is a reflection of our innermost core beliefs, Anna continues to have this experience of men hurting her. And if she really reflected upon her past relationships with men, she'll most likely notice a very clear pattern. So let's say guy number 1, let's call him Andy. He cheated on her. Well, that's her self-concept of I get hurt by men. Guy number 2, let's call him Steve. He was a compulsive liar. Again, there's that self-concept of I get hurt by men playing out. Guy number 3, Austin. He wasn't even a boyfriend, just a friend, and he was never there for her when she needed him. There it is again, the story of I get hurt by men playing out again and again. And because she's got the story of I get hurt by men, that's all she knows, so that's all she'll manifest in her reality. She'll probably go after men who are liars, manipulators, emotionally unavailable, because of the self-fulfilling prophecy. Anna believes men will hurt her, so that's a type that she feels comfortable around. And she's probably not even aware that she's doing this. So if a good guy shows up in her reality, she'll feel repulsed by him, because that emotional availability and love feels so unfamiliar to her that she can't even accept it. Again, all people can do is reflect back your conception of yourself. They can only show up as hurtful because that is your dominant assumption. For Anna, those men could only show up as hurtful because that's her dominant assumption. So if this is your story and you're trying to consciously manifest love, a relationship, marriage, that's going to be extremely difficult to do and go to the end, as they say, when you don't even know what crap is going on in the back of your mind, right? You're not even aware of it. You could be affirming, SP is so in love with me. They want me, they only have eyes and desire for me, they treat me like royalty. But if you have this story in the back of your mind, SP will certainly not be in love with you or treating you like royalty anytime soon. You'll likely experience the opposite because your self-concept says you get hurt. You need to get rid of those deep subconscious beliefs. You need to change your conception of yourself. You know, there are some people that can manifest an SP or money or whatever easily, and that's great. That means your self-concept is on point. But a lot of us have had messed up experiences that have really made us who we are today. And because we haven't investigated our subconscious thinking, consciously manifesting seems like a constant battle, it seems like a chore, and that is not what it's supposed to be. So, circling back to the question of this video, is the law of assumption ruining your life? Well, it could be if you don't understand it. Hopefully, if you've listened, then you've deepened your understanding. It's literally this process. I have core beliefs or assumptions. These core beliefs or assumptions project out in my reality, and they are reflected back to me. It's that simple. And as Neville said, there is no one to change but self. So how do we actually find out what our self-concept is? If you're not self-aware, this is pretty much reverse engineering. You look at what the 3D is showing you or has shown you in the past to figure out what is going on internally. So first, choose an area of your life that you're not happy with. I'm going to use what I did to investigate my self-concept in love as an example. I listed every single guy that I've ever dated or was interested in, and next to their name I wrote down the issue with each one. It's insane how every one of them disappeared at some point. I highlighted that disappearing theme. I also noticed how they wouldn't pursue a relationship with me, and that's because I had a rejection story about myself. And what's crazy is this spilled over into other relationships in my life, like friendships. With a different color highlighter, I also highlighted this rejection story. And because the law is always working, the mere fact that this was my 3D experience means that I had dominant hidden core beliefs that people leave me and I get rejected. If those were not my beliefs, then I would have had a different 3D experience. I mean, I do now because I've done the work in that aspect of my life. And don't let your brain trick you. Remember, it wants to keep you safe and protected. It thinks it's keeping you safe and protected. And it does that by perpetuating what is familiar to you. So that's one way to uncover that thinking. You can also keep a journal on you or even on your notes app in your phone. You can keep entries of your negative thoughts throughout a few days or even weeks if you wanted to, and you'll uncover that negative thinking real quick. Uncover that thinking and change it, and soon manifesting what you want will be so easy. But first, you must manifest the right self-concept that will make your desires attainable. Okay, I hope this helps. Thank you for listening.